In connected vehicle, we're seeing a great number of innovations that are leading to changes in safety, sustainability, and vehicle operations. In sustainability, the biggest thing we're seeing today is electrification. The change from the internal combustion engine to the electric vehicles is leading to great strides in sustainability across the globe. That does create some significant challenges and opportunities for us as we have to roll out significant infrastructure from charging stations to more grid power to support those vehicles. From a vehicle operations perspective, one of the things that's actually incredibly important is the transition to a truly software-defined vehicle, which allows us through over-the-air updates to push new technologies and new software updates into the vehicle. We're able to now have a vehicle on the road be updated in real time and add features that were not available when it comes off the factory line. Think the full self-driving options that we're getting with Tesla, and the ability to update and understand what's happening in the vehicle in real time to avoid significant maintenance hurdles and recalls. The last one I want to highlight is the transition to autonomous driving. Autonomous driving is really changing safety for the better and is going to help us save lives. Right? Today, 1.3 million people a year are killed in traffic accidents, 500,000 of which are pedestrians. And over 90% of those are caused by human error and thus preventable. So really that's going to be a huge one for us from a safety perspective. To make all of these innovations widely available brings a number of challenges to us. I think the first one that's really interesting is really consumer confidence. Right? When we think about things like autonomous driving and business case changes, right, you've got to get the customer comfortable with the fact that they can take their hands off the wheel and allow our software developers in Silicon Valley and around the world to control your vehicle. And really, you're putting your lives in their hands. So the ability for us to write incredibly high quality software is a big hurdle for us to overcome from a consumer confidence standpoint. We're also seeing, as we become a truly software-defined vehicle, the monetization for the OEMs and for various platform providers is going to change from a purchase on sale to a subscription-based model. And there's a transition in confidence that we have to go through to make people comfortable with that model. And we're seeing some highly successful transitions into that subscription model, think some of the full self-driving again, and some that really haven't hit the mark and customers are not quite happy with. So there's going to be some challenges in getting the consumer confidence there. I think from a city's perspective, one of the things that we have as a real challenge is, as we look towards electrification, is how are we going to fund all of the things necessary to get to autonomous, fully electric vehicles on the road? When you think about charging stations in public places, that's got to be a public-private partnership where the electric charging manufacturers working with public utilities are working through where to place and how to get power to them, as well as when you think about the transition to autonomous and vehicle to infrastructure type technologies, where we're looking at things like cameras and sensors in the roadways to feed information in and out of the vehicles. Those types of sensors and camera networks are really going to have to be public works projects, right? So it's going to be a balance of where do we find the funding from a government perspective to increase those safety and what trade-offs have to be made. So finding those funding is going to be a real challenge as we go through it. We have to think differently about how we deploy and manage the networks which support this. As we go from LTE to 5G across the board and 5G SA, we're really seeing a significant change to the deployment methodologies from to a container-based, cloud-based model, and the operations, deployment, and management of that infrastructure is going to have to be significantly different than what we've had in the past. You're going to see a move to much more DevOps-based deployment platforms, more SRE-based skills, and all that together is going to be a real challenge for us to get these out into the market. In terms of what technical solutions now are required to meet these challenges, obviously with the move to DevOps and SRE in terms of how we deploy, we can do things a lot faster. But we also have to look at how do we get 5G to the edge, because that's really one of the key enablers for a lot of these use cases, like vehicle to infrastructure, or a lot of the autonomous require incredibly reliable, consistent connectivity, but also very low latency. And so to do that, we have to really think about deploying at the edge, and really that's going to take a very different way to think about how we deploy it. The amount of data coming into and out of the vehicles to enable these types of solutions is also going to be significantly higher than in the past. And so with multi-access technologies, where now the vehicles come with not only just your cellular connection, but also Wi-Fi and coming right behind it, satellite, we have to be able to intelligently allow the vehicle manufacturers to decide what data goes over what connections and when. You may have a very large over-the-air software update that is non-critical, that we wait until that vehicle goes to the charging station, which has our Wi-Fi solutions in it, and now takes over Wi-Fi, brings that over-the-air update from a software perspective. But in a critical vehicle-to-infrastructure communication that could be related to a safety or a hazard in the roadway, we're going to definitely want to be able to prefer the 5G networks. Similarly, if you happen to live in a rural area like I do, where today I have a gap in cellular coverage, now with satellite connectivity, we can then look at how do we backfill that connectivity gap with satellite. But given the relative newness and challenges of the satellite infrastructure, how do we give the OEMs the ability to really prioritize only the data most critical for operations during that period of time?